Could it be that Darwin's theory, which is often claimed to be the cornerstone of modern biology, is not as all-encompassing as once believed? That's the question that's been stirring up quite a storm in the scientific community. Darwin's theory, fundamentally, is based on competition, the survival of the fittest, the strongest living, while the weakest perish. As Darwin himself stated in his book On the Origin of Species, one general law leading to the advancement of all organic beings, namely multiply, vary, let the strongest live, and the weakest die. Yet a plethora of recent research is challenging this fundamental premise of Darwin. In a 2014 article titled "Old Idea About Ecology, Questioned by New Findings," it was stated, "One of Charles Darwin's hypotheses posits that closely related species will compete for food and other resources more strongly with one another than with distant relatives, because they occupy similar ecological niches. Most biologists long have accepted this to be true. Thus, 3 researchers were more than a little shaken to find that their experiments on freshwater green algae failed to support Darwin's theory. It was completely unexpected," says Bradley Cardinal, associate professor in the University of Michigan School of Natural Resources and Environment. "When we saw the results, we said, 'This can't be.' We sat there banging our heads against the wall. Darwin's hypothesis has been with us for so long, how can it not be right?" The researchers were so uncomfortable with their results that they spent the next several months trying to disprove their own work. But the research held up. The hypothesis is so intuitive that it was hard for us to give it up, but we are becoming more and more convinced that Darwin, wasn't right. We went into it assuming Darwin to be right and expecting to come up with some real numbers for conservationists, Cardinale says. When we started coming up with numbers that showed he wasn't right, we were completely baffled. This idea of cooperation over competition was further supported by a 2019 article titled "Friendly Bacteria Collaborate to Survive." The research found that for groups of bacteria, survival of the friendliest outweighed survival of the fittest. Bacteria made space for one another and even sacrificed properties if it benefited the bacterial community as a whole. In fact, non-cooperative behavior was punished, as shown in a 2015 article titled "Cooperating Bacteria Isolate Cheaters." It was found that bacteria that did not contribute to metabolite production were excluded from the cooperative benefits. Moreover, researchers found that this cooperative behavior amongst bacteria was not an exception, but rather a widespread occurrence. In another 2015 article titled "Oceanic Microbes Behave in a Synchrony Across Ocean Basins," it was stated that the bacterial groups common to both ecosystems displayed the same transcriptional patterns and daily rhythms, as if each group is performing its prescribed role at a precise time each and every day, even though these communities are separated by thousands of miles. Our work suggests that these microbial communities broadly behave in a similar manner across entire ocean basins, and that specific biological interactions between these groups are widespread in nature. To summarize, a multitude of recent research studies on bacteria are challenging the fundamental premise of Darwin's theory, namely the survival of the fittest. Instead, they are finding that cooperation, mutualism, and even altruism is much more widespread and important to survival than competition is. In conclusion, Darwin's fundamental presupposition that the world is dominated by competition is found to be wrong.